In the 3rd year of Koresh, king of Persia, a word was revealed to Daniel, also called Belteshazzar. The word was certain, a great war. He understood the word, having gained understanding in the vision. At that time, I, Daniel, had been mourning for 3 whole weeks. I hadn't eaten any food that satisfied me. Neither meat nor wine had entered my mouth, and I didn't anoint myself once until 3 full weeks had passed. On the 24th day of the 1st month, I was on the bank of the great river, the Tigris, when I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, wearing a belt made of fine Uphaz gold. His body was like beryl, his face like lightning, and his eyes like fiery torches. His arms and feet were the color of burnished bronze, and when he spoke, it sounded like the roar of a crowd. Only I, Daniel, saw the vision. The men who were with me did not see the vision. However, a great trembling fell over them, so that they rushed to hide themselves. Thus I was left alone, and when I saw the great vision, there was no strength left in me. My face, normally pleasant-looking, became disfigured, and I had no strength. I heard his voice speaking, and when I heard him speaking, I fell down in a faint with my face to the ground. Then a hand touched me and raised me, tottering, to my hands and knees. He said to me, "Daniel, you are a greatly loved man. Now pay attention to the words I am saying to you, and stand upright, for it is to you that I have been sent now." After he had said this to me, I stood up, trembling. Then he said to me, "Don't be afraid, Daniel, because since the first day that you determined to understand and to humble yourself before God, your words have been heard, and I have come because of what you said. The prince of the kingdom of Persia prevented me from coming for 21 days. But Michael, one of the chief princes, came to assist me, so that I was no longer needed there with the kings of Persia. So I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people in the Acharet Hayimim. For there is still another vision which will relate to those days." After he had said these things to me, I looked down to the ground and couldn't speak. Then someone who looked like a human being touched my lips, after which I could open my mouth and speak. I said to the one standing in front of me, "My Lord, it is because of the vision that I am seized with such anguish. I don't have any strength, for how can this servant of my Lord speak with my Lord, when my strength and breath have failed me?" Then, again, someone who looked human touched me and revived me. He said, "You man so greatly loved, don't be afraid. Shalom to you, and be strong, yes, truly strong." His speaking to me strengthened me, and I said, "My Lord, keep speaking, because you're giving me strength." Then he said to me, "Do you know why I came to you? Although now I must return to fight the prince of Persia, and when I leave, the prince of Greece will come. Nevertheless, I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. There is no one standing against me except Michael, your prince." However, I was already standing up to support and help Darvish the Mede in the 1st year of his reign. What I'm going to tell you now is true. 3 kings will arise in Persia, followed by a 4th, who will be far wealthier than all of them. And when he has grown strong by means of his wealth, he will stir up everyone against the kingdom of Greece. Then a powerful king will appear who will rule a vast kingdom and do whatever he pleases. But once he appears, his kingdom will be broken up and divided to the 4 winds of heaven. It won't be inherited by his descendants, and it won't be ruled with power he had, because his kinship will be uprooted and will pass to others than his own posterity. The king in the south will be strong, and one of his princes will gain power over him and have dominion. His domain will be a great dominion. After a number of years, they will form an alliance. The daughter of the king of the south will approach the king of the north to make an agreement, but she won't retain her power, and he and his power won't last either. Rather, she will be surrendered, although with her attendants, her father, and the one who supported her during those times. But another branch from the same roots as hers will appear in her father's place. He will attack the army of the kings of the north, enter his fortress, and succeed in conquering them. He will also carry out as booty to Egypt their gods, their cast metal images, and their valuable gold and silver vessels. Then for some years he will refrain from attacking the king of the north. Afterward, the king of the north will invade the kingdom of the king of the south, but he will retire to his own land. His sons will rouse themselves to muster a large and powerful army, which will advance like a flood passing through. In another campaign, it will march on the enemy stronghold. The king of the south, enraged, will set up to do battle with the king of the north, who, in turn, will muster a large army. But this army will be defeated by his enemy and carried off. The conqueror will grow proud as he slaughters tens of thousands, yet he will not prevail. Rather, the king of the north will again muster an army larger than the first one. At the end of this period, after a number of years, it will be a large, well-supplied army. Those will be times in which many will resist the king of the south, and more violent ones among your own people will rebel in order to fulfill their vision, but they will fail. When the king of the north will come, then the king of the north will come, set up siege workers, and capture a fortified city. The forces of the south will be insufficient defense. Even his elite troops will not be strong enough to resist. The invader will do as he pleases. No one will be able to withstand him. So he will establish himself in the land of glory, and he will have the power to destroy it. He will determinedly advance with full force of his kingdom, but he will make an agreement with the king of the south and give him a daughter in marriage. His object will be to destroy him, but the agreement will not last or work out in his favor. Next, he will put his attention on the coastlands and islands and capture many. But an army commander will put a stop to his outrages and cause his outrages to come back upon him. After this, he will put his attention on the strongholds in his own land, but he will stumble, fall, and not be seen again. In his place will arise one who will send a tax collector through the glorious kingdom, but within a few days he will be broken, through neither in anger nor in battle. There will arise in his place a despicable man, not entitled to inherit the majesty of the kingdom, but he will come without warning and gain the kingdom by intrigue. Large armies will be broken and swept away before him, as well as the prince of the covenant. Alliances will be made with him, but he will undermine them by deceit. Then, although he will have but a small following, he will emerge and become strong. Without warning, he will assail the most powerful men in each province and do things his predecessors never did, either recently or in the distant past. He will reward them with plunder, spoil, wealth, while devising plots against their strongholds, but only for a time. He will summon his power and courage against the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south will fight back with a very large and powerful army. But he will not succeed because of the plots devised against him. Yes, those who shared his food will destroy him. His army will be swept away, and many will fall in the slaughter. These two kings bent on mischief will sit at the same table, speaking lies to each other. But none of this will succeed, because the appointed end will not have yet come. Then the king of the north will return to his own land with great wealth, with his heart set against the holy covenant. he will take action and then return home. At the designated time, he will come back to the south, but this time things will turn out differently than before, because ships from Kittim will come against him, so that his courage will fail him. Then, in retreat, he will take furious action against the Holy Covenant, against showing favor to those who abandon the Holy Covenant. Armed forces will come in order to profane the sanctuary and fortress. They will abolish the burnt offerings and set up the abomination that causes desolation. Those who act wickedly against the covenant, he will corrupt with his blandishments. But the people who know their God will stand firm and prevail. Those among the people who have discernment will cause the rest of the people to understand what is happening. Nevertheless, for a while they will fall victim to the sword, fire, exile, and pillage. When they stumble, they will receive a little help, although many who join them will be insincere. Even some of those with discernment will stumble, so that some of them will be refined, purified, and cleansed for an end yet to come at the designated time. The king will do as he pleases. He will exalt himself and consider himself greater than any god, and he will utter monstrous blasphemies against the God of gods. He will prosper only until the period of wrath is over, for what has been determined must take place. He will show no respect for the gods his ancestors worshipped, or for the god women worship. He won't show respect for any god, because he will consider himself greater than all of them. But instead, he will honor the God of strongholds with gold, silver, precious stones, and other costly things. He will honor a God unknown to his ancestors. He will deal with the strongest fortresses with the help of a foreign god. He will confer honor on those he acknowledges, causing them to rule over many and distributing the land as a reward. Then the time will come. When the time comes for the end, the king of the south will push at him, while the king of the north will attack him like a whirlwind, with chariots, cavalry, and a large navy. He will invade countries, overrun them, and move on. He will also enter the land of glory, and many countries will come to grief. But these will be saved from his power: Edom, Moab, and the people of Ammon. He will reach out his hand to seize other countries too. The land of Egypt will not escape. He will control the treasures of gold and silver, as well as everything else in Egypt of value. Put and Ethiopia will be subject to him. However, news from the east and north will frighten him, so that he moves out in great fury to ruin and completely do away with many. Finally, when he pitches the tents of his palace between the seas and the mountains of the holy glory, he will come to an end, with no one to help him. When that time comes, Michael, the great princes who championed your people, will stand up, and there will be a time of distress unparalleled between the time they became a nation and at that moment. At that time, your people will be delivered, everyone whose name is found written in the book. Many of those sleeping in the dust of the earth will awaken, some to everlasting life, and some to everlasting shame and abhorrence. But those who can discern will shine like the brightness of heaven's dome, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, keep those words secret and seal up the book until the time of the end. Many will rush here and there as knowledge increases. Then I, Daniel, looked, and I saw in front of me two others, one on this bank and the river, and the other on the other bank. One of them asked the man dressed in linen, was above the water of the river, "How long will these wonders last?" The man dressed in linen, who was above the water and river, raised his right and left hand toward heaven, and swore by him who lives forever, and it would be for a times and a half, and that it will be when the power of the holy people is no longer being shattered, that all these things will end. I heard this, but I couldn't understand what it meant. So I asked, "Lord, what will be the outcome of all this?" But he said, "Go your way, Daniel. For these words are to remain secret and sealed until the end of time. Many will purify, cleanse, and refine themselves, but the wicked will keep on acting wickedly, and none of the wicked will understand. But those with discernment will understand. From the time the regular burnt offerings is taken away and the abomination that causes desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. How blessed will be anyone who waits and arrives at the 1,335 days. But you, go your way until the end comes. Then you will rest and rise for your reward at the end of days.